I wanted to show you a few things. Now that you've gotten that Anaconda distribution, everything's installed on your system, we're ready to go. Hopefully everything went really well for you and you didn't have any problems. One nice thing that we have now is we have a lot of different ways that we can potentially use Python. So one very basic thing I'm going to show you first is if you just go to your search bar here and go to the command prompt, you can just simply type Ipython and it will open up the shell. So notice right away I'm using my Python distribution that was installed on the system. Make sure you can get to this point. And we have a command prompt that we can use to just run some of our first Python scripts. This may or may not be how you mostly use these. You can create notebooks, which I really do recommend. I think your reproducibility factor really is enhanced, and you can automate things, and we'll talk about how to do that pretty soon to be able to use a more efficient environment than this. But let's just do some very basic things first. So I'm going to do what I have seen in every programming class I've taken, the famous hello world. If you simply print that, enter, submit your command, you see that we can just print script in a simple way like that. The notebook, if you notice, this is a notebook. It's maybe a little less structured than our Markdown notebooks were, but it contains these cells and then subsequent to the cells an output area. So right there, I submitted the script print, and then my output was what I put in my command. We can do very simple things. Let me just choose some numbers here and do things like easy calculations using arithmetic operators. So obviously 3 plus 4 is 7. You can do some kind of, this is kind of different. And Python, if you do underscore, let's do times 2. Look what happened. So what did my underscore stand for? My last result. That's kind of handy. I like that. It's a little different to do that in R. It will also take shell commands. So these commands are defined by whatever operating system you're using. For example, if we type in !ls, we could get a list of all the notebooks in our current directory. That's if you're using Linux or, oh gosh, Mac? Yeah, Mac too. I always forget Mac. Sorry, Mac users out there. In Windows, you just go back and type ls directly, and you can see everything I have. So if you like to use those commands, command line type commands that are commonly used for batch processing of code and everything, you've got that available right here in this Ipython style notebook. Okay, so that's about all I think I want to do here. I'm going to go ahead and close this command prompt, and I'm going to go back and open a new command prompt. We could have kept the old open, but it used to be that you could, if you recall before we just typed Ipython, you used to be able to add notebook to that and it would open a Jupyter notebook. You can see it's open behind me right here. However, I believe that's now deprecated. So we actually want to type Jupyter notebook now. Let me close this. I was just testing it before I attempted this so that I wouldn't have any mistakes. All right, so here we go. Here were a couple old notebooks that I did not name, which happens all the time because I kind of hate that. You're forced in our Markdown to name everything, and I think that's great. It's really easy in this environment not to name anything. I'm going to get rid of these because I don't even remember what's on here. Okay, so if you go up here to New, you can open a Python 3 notebook. I don't have this connected to other programming languages, just Python 3 right now. So that's my only option. So it's great. It opens up. We have a cell here. And if we just go through kind of more or less the same script from before, we can use Shift-Enter here, and we see our output. So here was our cell where we enter our script, and here's your output. And let's say I made a mistake, like I wanted 2 exclamation points. I can just go back up here, change it. Very easy. I just did another Shift-Enter to change it. You can still do the simple, like, what did we do before? 4 plus 3, I think, is what I did. And we see our output there. We can still do, trying to remember the sequence of things we went through before. And so we're taking 7 times 3, our previous output before, 7 times 3, and using that. So this, as you can see, is visually more appealing. You can also save your work. So how would you do that? Why doesn't everybody go ahead and after you've attempted these few little scripts, go ahead and attempt to save your notebook. You might go back. See right there, it has, my notebook is still untitled, but it's running. But there is a instance of it right there. If I want to go back and rename, I can change it from untitled to my first Python. If it's not your first Python, call it something else, I suppose. All right, so I've done that. Notice up here, it's updated. Over here, it's updated. So make sure you understand what's happening here. Okay, so what's great too is you can make, using this environment, this notebook, we can create more attractive or maybe rich displays that have interactive features. So let's take just a little look at doing that. So far, just to remind you, we've only used these little code cells and then created the output. But we can support other kinds of cells here. So for example, if we go up to the top here, you see there's a drop-down menu and it says code right now because we're using code cells, okay? If I do the drop-down menu, which you can go do, then I'll select Markdown. Okay, so this may be familiar to you now. And let's just type something. Okay, I'm going to pay attention to my commands. I'm going to be creating a kind of a heading here. Heading for my text. I'm going to go below that. This is a nicer text. Let's do some kind of, we can do like boldface. You do 2 of these. Environment. With, oh, whoops, I did not mean to put a, with equations. Okay, so notice here, we can use LaTeX commands. So maybe not everybody in here likes LaTeX. So I'm kind of creating a nonsense equation here, but that's okay. You can also have code included. So this is really good for like if you want to type up a little instruction manual. So then you do, you can actually insert let's see, yeah, insert cell below. Well, actually, let's do that in a second. Let's see, we want to do, let's create a little Python shell here, print kind of making this up as I go along, so I apologize for the hemming and hawing. Okay, then maybe what else? You can also include images. We should do that later once we have some of our own images to include, perhaps. So again, Shift-Enter, and we can see that, you know, like equations was bold-faced, italics is one set of the asterisks. We get our nice little equation there, all typesetted using LaTeX commands. And then we can also insert code easily. Very nice. You can always switch back to code, of course, once you're ready to use a regular cell. There's also some nice ways that you can use HTML displays. We'll maybe talk about that later. There's a lot you can do within this environment, and I think that the interactive features I think are really, really strong. There's a lot of things we'll get to, but right now I think I want to just get you more accustomed to using these notebooks and then saving them. Okay, so I think that's all for now. Let's go ahead and close this. Notice when we close this, we still have it here on our page here, and we have a permanent record. So if you don't name these, then you'll be like me when I first started and I never named them, and then I had Untitled, Untitled 1, Untitled 2, Untitled 3, and I could not remember what anything is. So I think a good rule is always begin by saving. I often forget because I'm just getting to, I'd rather get to the coding, but make a habit of that. That's enough for now. Make sure you can do all this, and then we'll start back up next time.